What's up? Welcome. I am so glad you are here listening and spending time with me today. Release Your Inner Power talks about life, the trenches, the decisions, and the wins that we have now, today, and that have experienced in our past. There are stories, encouragement, tools, and tips to take those next steps to release that inner power and connect with something that is said or someone, a special guest maybe, that will boost your week. I am your host, Shauna B. Here we go. Welcome back to Boost Your Week with Ignited Decisions. I'm your host, Shauna B., and I am so glad that you are here today and spending time with me. I want to talk about this week, first of all, how are we at the end of 2024? Is anybody else feeling like 2024 just kind of flew by and wait, hold on, I'm still in springtime? I almost feel like spring happened and then now the holidays are over. It's like a whirlwind. Anyone else feel like that? What I like to do at the end of the year, and I can't even believe that this is happening, it feels like it's so early, I'm not ready. But at the same time, it is the end of the year. So what I like to do is look back on how far I've come. I like to review my year. Usually at the beginning of the year, I set myself up with some goals or some things that I want to accomplish or some type of, I guess, box checked, if you will, from like all areas of my life. And how I do that is by the end of the year, I look back at my year through many different things, and I'll share my process with you, and you'll hear papers rustling around because I have papers in front of me on how I do it. So we'll be doing it actively in the moment, if you will. It's really good. So why do I look at that? I look at my last year and what I've accomplished and how far I've come on my goals. And there's so many life lessons and just things that I've learned in the last year. I look at the good and the bad. I own both of it, right? I own both parts of it. I look at the good and the bad, see how far I've come, what I've worked through, all of that stuff to really focus on my wins, if you will, with both the good and the bad. I think it is important when we work through this, thing called life, that we need to look at all of it in order to see how far that we've come. And sometimes we get so focused on what's in front of us that we forget to turn around and look what we've done behind us, right? We can also look at things, what I like to call is letting go of what is not for me anymore. There's a lot of things sometimes that we hold on to or that we keep with us because we think that we should or it needs to be there, and it's just extra baggage or extra weight that's coming with us year after year after year. And so do we need that? Can we let that go? Can we just decide that is no longer for you anymore? And that way of seeing how far you've come and reviewing your year, you can be more clear on what you actually need to let go of. Okay. So what were my goals? Now I'm like looking through here, and what I do is I have a journal here. Okay. And it breaks it down for me so I don't have to remember every single month, because I review monthly, but then I also have like big, I wouldn't say lofty, but I try to make them pretty big year goals, because if I have 12 months to accomplish them, I should be that much closer, whether it's 2 steps or 4 steps, maybe 6 or 12 steps closer to my goal that I made at the beginning of the year. I'm definitely not where I was last year. And so to look back on that is super important. So the areas of life that I have to review are personal development, relationships, career, business, financial, health, free time, and family is kind of all the things that I made goals for and look through. Now, personal development, I always like to figure out if there's something else that I can learn that is going to help me, or is there a class I can take, or books I can read, or meeting with other people, some lessons to really learn that I need to work on. And in order to do that, I have to check in with myself to see where I want to do the work, right? So for me this year, this didn't happen until recently. I would say probably September-ish. I have 3 beautifully spirited children that need a lot of extra time and, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess extra time and attention to what their needs are and how they need to be parented. And I thought I was doing good, and I think I was doing a really good job, but I think I could do better. And I think that there's tools out there that I can use that would actually enhance our relationship, parent-child, as well as teaching them in a way that they can receive it the best. And so with that, I decided to do a parenting program and my personal growth as I'm leveling up my parenting with my children in order to build that bond relationship that we have, but also to be able to get them through the areas that they struggle and teach them and be that example, as well as, have all these tools in my toolbox for when things go sideways or when you don't have a good day. Because let's be real, parenting, it is not rainbows and sunshine all the time. We lose on our kids regularly, and we have to tend to self so we can show up and not be the crabby mom and not the one that does that. And this is one of those ways that I can do that for them and for myself. Some of my goals were this year for my business is I wanted to this last year do 3 big launches and for my program to get more people to be able to see what I have to offer. So if it's a good fit for them, then I can be a person that can help and guide and support them on their own journeys. And they were amazing. And I loved the launches. There was people out there that wanted my help, and I was able to help them. And to have those experiences and win-wins with them was just amazing. Financially, my goals were to, looking back, I really wanted to be paying off some things that I had an outstanding balance. One of my main goals is to be debt-free. And so with that, I have done what they call the snowball effect to pay some things off. And I've had 2 things that I have paid off in the last year, and I have 1 more that has like 3 more payments on it, and it will be done. So I have made big moves financially, as well as saving money to try to go on a vacation, because that's my goal for 2025 is to take my family on a family vacation. And so I started saving in 2024 and paying things off. So I'm doing both, right? Because one of my goals is to go on a family vacation in 2025 and make it happen, as well as make sure that I pay something off to where I can have more money to save. But I wanted to do both. So if I had to put less down in both areas, but to be able to make both of them happen at the same time, then I wanted to divide and conquer, if you will. So that was definitely something that I needed to play around with in order to get that, and then really sticking to my budget in order to have the money to do both of those things, right? So I did accomplish those, and I'm very happy with that. This last year, for free time and family, I wanted to set time aside to start hanging out with my kids individually, and also take little mini vacations with them, whether it was camping or going to the Oregon coast, or I always like to take them on a trip, and then I like to go on a trip, like a mom trip. I like to take turns. And this year I cut way back on what I was actually doing because my financial goal was more of a priority to me to pay off stuff. So what I did was I backed off on a lot of my trips, and I went on a couple trips if they were short trips and close. So they weren't big ones, mini-cations, if you will. And this last year, I wanted to take 1 for myself, and then I wanted to take 3 with my kids. And that was also accomplished. Which I can talk about that also. I had more goals. I'm just giving you the highlight reel here. But like good things, for example, well, let's back it up a little bit. So how do I review my year? Okay. How do I even do that? Well, I sit down, I have this journal that goes through where I go through monthly and also through the year, where I have goals. I have things that I write down for the month, what I want to accomplish, because it's kind of like broken down by the year. And what I do is I go through that and I look at where I was like in January of last year. And sometimes it's kind of mind blowing because you can look at it and just be like, holy crap. That was just last year, because it feels like so much has happened, in the short time of a year. I mean, yes, a year is long, but at the same time, it is super short. So I look at my journal that I write in every day. I look at my planner that I have for my monthly and my yearly planner with my goals in it. I also look at my pictures that I take and save in my phone, because that also captures memories to recall things that have happened in the year, right? It's pretty interesting to see all of the things that come through. The reason why I look at my journal and my planner is because I put everything in my planner also. Not just focusing on the good stuff and the highlight reel. Like, yes, it's always good to, look at the positive and kind of positive bank, if you will, like have all of your situations that happen that are positive. But also you have to look at what has happened that you learn from, like trenches or bumps in the road or tornadoes that have happened in this last year. So I'm going to share some of those with you and what I've learned from it and how I kind of work through that. So my main positive things that I would say stuck out for me this year are I got to go to a city for my birthday with one of my friends that I'd never been to before. So I got to discover a brand new city for my birthday. I started a podcast in 2023, but it really started roaring at the beginning of 2024. I'm continuing to do that, and I love doing that, meeting new people. It really lights my fire, and I love to be able to help somebody out there listening to that. So I'm very happy with that. And I've met so many people in the process that has been so amazing, and learning that whole process through it. I have taken my kids to the Oregon coast. We've gone camping also down kind of on Washington coast, as well as we took another little trip around here to the coast, because our family lives out kind of Washington Peninsula area, to visit our family, and we call it Cousins Weekend. And we usually go to this big, huge lake that's out there, and we spend a lot of time with our cousins and playing and just having a whole weekend of fun. So those are the many occasions, I guess you could say, that we have experienced together and have spent time together, and, looking back at my pictures and what have you. I also had an adventure trip where, as some of you know, is the trip where I went on a hike and went to Canada, and I was stuck on a mountain. So, which brings me to challenges in the year, okay? Because I have 3 spirited children, things can get a little tricky when you have a gathering or when you're all together in a smaller space, camping, driving long periods of time, things like that. And so I have to get really creative on how we can all be in each other's space when we all like each other. At the same time, we need our own space. It can get challenging. So working with that so we can make more memories has been a bumpy road, but we still have made memories, right? Working through it. It's a work in progress. It's kind of like how parenting goes, I feel like. It's a work in progress in the wild, wild west. And then I injured myself probably in April, May-ish in my leg, and I didn't realize how bad the injury was. I thought, taking it easy and resting, doing that type of situation would have it heal in a couple of months, and it did not. It got significantly worse, and so I've had to do less, which is interesting to do when you are a person that is busy and always constantly doing stuff, very active, and likes to be outside. When you're told that you're on total restriction except for your PT exercises and you have to take it easy, it is a whole mental load that you have to work through, right? So learning to, here's a big one. So when you have your things that you do for your mental health, for example, when you have working out or hiking or getting outside or just going for a quick walk, if that is your go-to in a situation where, like me, where I injured my leg and I am not allowed to do any of those things for my mental health, it is good to have other things in your back pocket or to learn quickly what those things can be to help you with your mind and your mental health. Because if you get, your activities taken away, if that's usually your go-to and you haven't had to think about the other ones in a little while, it's good to mix it up, because sometimes life will throw you into a learning loop, if you will. We'll call it a learning loop. Bump in the road, that type of situation where you need to come up with some newer things that you need to do for your mental health that you're not used to doing, instead of just giving up and being frustrated, right? So for me, it's listening to podcasts, listening to music, journaling, talking it out with one of my friends has been helpful to me when things get hard and I can't go, run it off or hike it out or work it off at the gym. So it's been interesting how to juggle that around. I also had a situation this year where I was on the side of a mountain for 10 hours and had to figure out how to not lost. I wasn't lost on the mountain, but I had to figure out, be very strategic about what and when I did things because of my water and my food and the time of day and, being alone. The being alone part really didn't bother me until the amount of hours that had passed by where I was alone. Then things started to get a little crazy. I did do a podcast episode on it, so if you want to hear about that whole huge learning lesson for me, it's in previous episodes for 2024. But with that being said, did I learn a lot from them? Was that one of the scariest situations in my life that I've ever had to deal with? Yeah. And I came out way stronger on the other side and way more clarity on things for all of those things, right? For my injury, for being on the side of the mountain, for, sometimes having situations where you have an idea of this awesome vacation that is going to be so cool and relaxing and fun. And then it turns sideways because everybody's fighting, but now the fighting does not stop. And then now you're like, okay, was it even worth planning? Do I even plan anything else like this again or what have you? You know what I mean? How did I learn from those situations? How did it make me stronger? What was the message or learning in that? And being curious and asking those questions can really help you see also how far you've come, even though it's been the time to work through it, but asking those questions again to kind of like really set in what tools that you have and what you have come through in those, what I call, tornadoes or bumps in the road, if you will. Now, looking at all of this, I did leave out one thing too. I think one of the hardest things to deal with also is when you have somebody in your life that you really care about, and that could be a friend, a family member, it could be your boyfriend or girlfriend, it could be, something like that, and you have a breakup. Having a breakup in your life is hard, no matter what it is, especially when there's confusion and, maybe your normal way of handling the situation is to talk it out and have conversations, and that may not be an option. And how do you work through that? And this year I lost a relationship. Hey there, do you need some more tools to help boost your week? I got you. Head on over to www.igniteddecisions.com and there is 4 different resources that you can use to help clear your mind, get things done, checking in, 10 ways to better your day, and to be able to plan more me time. Yes, plan more me time. Head on over to www.igniteddecisions.com to get your freebies today to help boost your week. That was near and dear to me, and working through that has been one of the hardest things that I've had to do. It kind of like knocked me, I guess, off of the track, and I had to go within, what I call checking in. I had to check in with myself and see what was important, what needed to be worked on, why this was happening with me. And I got a lot of stuff that came up for me that I needed to learn and grow from, and also validated myself and who I am as a person, and that I am who I am, and going through all of that, kind of like an identity thing of checking in and seeing where I'm at, and am I the person I want to be, and all of those things. It's interesting how situations like that can cause you sometimes to go to the negative and think negative things, but we got to train that. We got to train that to not always go there, to be real with what is in the situation and then move through it. So that's one of the things that has been trying for me this year is working through a breakup with an individual. It was really unfortunate that person is not in my life anymore. So with that being said, this is owning the good and the bad and looking back on the year. And it's not to like be down and like, let's concentrate on the bad things. It's just looking at it as a whole, seeing where the fun was, seeing where the improvements were, seeing the goals that you made and looking at the little steps. Sometimes I go back and I review the months to see, what was accomplished and what was done and how close I am. Did I even make those goals that I said that I was going to do, right? Do I need to work on some area of my life, or did I completely ignore a whole section of my life because I didn't really even want to go there, or I didn't want to try to focus on it? Because you don't have to focus on all the things. You don't have to fix all the things. You only need one. You only need one thing. You only need one goal. You only need one thing. I like to put it all on paper. So if I finish one, like if I finish my goal, that's, my financials, for example, my financial goal of paying something off. My other goal was to go on a vacation. So I started saving for a vacation at the same time. So I like to put it all down at the beginning of the year. Once I review and set myself up for the next year, put it all down at the beginning of the year. So that way, once something is accomplished, I can go back to the list and pull from there. So it's not just done. Like, I'm done. My year's made. When I can keep making my year better and better by adding to it. You know what I'm saying? So looking back at your year, pulling things out that can remind you of things that can happen, whether that's a journal, whether that's a planner, whether everything, we put so many things in our phone. I'm sure there's a lot of things in your phone that you can see that can review, but take the time to actually see how far you've come and all the things that you've accomplished, all the wins that you have got with yourself as an individual, but also with your family if you have one. What you've been working on, right? And then look at where you want to be. What does 2025 what do you want your 2025 look like? What does that look like for you? Do you want to work on an area? Like, is this the year to work on, family or social life, or maybe your personal growth, whichever that area is, or you can pick 2 areas if you want. But what area of your life do you want to work on for the next year? What one would be the one where you're maybe pick the area where you're just not feeling so good, or maybe you weren't paying attention to that at all last year. Let's pick that one to do, the next year, and set some things up for yourself. Where would you like to be? What would you want this to look like by the end of next year? When you look back, do you want to see that you have, taken 2 to 6 steps in this thing, or do you want to see some improvement? Because time is going to keep going. This year is going to pass either way. And so I always like to take the advantage of this time to review and plan ahead to see how I can have an amazing 2025. Now, is there going to be bumps in the road and lifing? Yeah, that's going to be happening. But how can we plan for the good stuff that we want to also be mixed in with the year? How can we make the best of the time that we have while we're here? And it's just by planning, just by having a goal, having something that you want to change, but actively taking the steps to do that. And so now, next, what I will be doing is looking at all the areas of my life, figuring out which one I want to work on. How does that going to look for 2025? What does it look like when I have made it in that area of my life? So I can look and say, I can take some steps towards this, and how do I do that? And then putting it in my year, making it my now plan, making it my plan that I want to actually get to, either by starting up that hill to get to the top of the mountain where my goal is, making it halfway, whatever that may be. So, questions to ask in review. What are the awesome memories and moments that you had over the year that you would like to remember? How do you feel about your progress in the year and staying on task even when the bumps in the road and the tornadoes came up? How did you feel regardless of the outcome, like through the journey? Do you feel good about it? What obstacles or fears came up, tornadoes, bumps in the road that came up for you that you really needed to work on? And what did you learn from it? And then I want you to go ahead and see, what do you want to work on next year? What do you want to plan? And see how that goes. So once you pick the area of your life and the goals that you want to try to make. See if you can plan it out. See if you can get some action steps. See if you can have that one thing where you're just sticking a toe in and trying something different to see how much better 2025 can be for you. And if you want to go crazy and you want to get all the areas of your life, go crazy. Get all the areas of your life. But see how you can design 2025 for yourself. Don't hold back. Let's see what you can get out of it. Look how far you've come in 2024, and let's make 2025 your year. I hope this was helpful in sharing stories of myself in my last year in review and kind of what I do for the next year. Please, if you have any questions or you want to chit chat about anything, reach out to me. I love chatting with you. And one more thing. Coming up this next month, there's going to be a Q&A, a live Q&A in my group. So if you want to jump in to ask questions there, please go to Ignited Decision Makers on Facebook and join the group, and you can come in the live Q&A. There's also a workshop on me talking about getting rid of that guilt that's holding you back and sticking a toe in to get new results. Come join in for 2025 and get into that workshop so you can start taking the steps to your new year, new you kind of situation. That is coming up too. You can go to my website to register for that seat to get into that workshop, www.igniteddecisions.com. I would love to see you there and chat with you there. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, learned something new, or got some gems to take away that will boost your week. I release a new episode each week, so make sure to click that follow button to not miss what is coming next. If you love the show or want to share a story, send me a quick message. I love hearing from listeners. If you know someone who needs this episode in their life, go ahead and share it with them. I'm sure they would love you for it. If you are looking to connect more, check out the show notes for all the social links, my website. I would love to hear how this episode helped you and what you loved about it. If there's a topic you want to hear about, send that too. All right, ladies, now is the time to release your inner power.